Whatever you do, whatever you make, you're turning energy into goods and services. It's what you do. And you're probably burning fossil fuels for electricity and heat, unleashing carbon and pollutants into the atmosphere. Do you have a solid plan for reducing and eliminating your emissions? How will you power your business and drive growth in a zero-carbon future? Low-cost solar and wind might seem an attractive solution, but is there enough land nearby? Is it expensive? You'll have to wait for environmental assessments, permits, and approvals before moving forward. Space is limited, and local development priorities often compete with industrial objectives. 8 years later, it's built, but nature takes its own course. You'll need more panels, more wind turbines, and batteries, lots of batteries. You might approach net zero, but at what cost? It's just not enough. You're still burning fossil fuels for emergency backup power and high-temperature processes. The electricity supply is expensive and unreliable. What now? Perhaps you've thought of using nuclear power, but these power plants can take 20 years to build, require large amounts of water nearby, and are hundreds of times too large for the majority of customers. Even if you are a large customer, most nuclear reactors can only supply low-temperature steam. It's just not that useful. And surrounding communities may not be on board with traditional nuclear power plants. You need something smaller, safer, and hotter. You need the micromodular reactor, or MMR, the nuclear battery for decarbonization at the lowest system cost. The MMR nuclear battery is a versatile zero-carbon heat source. Nuclear batteries simply warm up a molten salt thermal storage system. When you need electricity or heat, we extract it from the storage system, as fast as you need it. The system is unique in its ability to deliver power on demand and balance the intermittency of wind and solar. Using a molten salt storage buffer, MMR replaces natural gas peakers and forms the backbone for a renewable grid and your process heat applications. UltraSafe Nuclear partners with you to develop feasibility studies for your sites and your heat and power needs. We recommend the optimal number of nuclear batteries you need to balance or even replace the wind and solar supply. This will deliver the full energy demand at the lowest possible cost. The best mix varies based on the location and needs. In the desert with reliable sunshine, we will recommend more solar and less nuclear batteries. At higher latitudes, we recommend more nuclear batteries. In all cases, the goal is minimizing the cost of energy without costly power disruptions. We will handle the licensing and permitting to deploy MMRs on or near your site, and we will work with community leaders to answer questions and address concerns. We will help you arrange financing through owner-operator agreements or through a PPA. We will build the power plant, arrange for its operations, and we'll be ready for its eventual decommissioning. What can you do with reliable energy anywhere? MMR gives you freedom. Freedom to choose your temperature and your power. Freedom to do whatever you do, whenever you want, wherever you are. The nuclear battery produces heat to power all your processes, low temperature or high temperature, big or small, electricity or industrial heat. If you only need electrical power, we'll deliver a balance of plant with a high-efficiency turbine. Need more power? Just add more units. It's that simple. If you also want steam for facility heating or any number of industrial processes, that is easily arranged out of the box. We offer steam temperatures between 500 and 600 degrees Celsius. High-temperature processes up to 900 degrees Celsius are also possible, and even higher temperatures can be achieved using combined thermal and electrical heating. If you're operating a smelting plant or ceramic furnace, we can help decarbonize using hot nitrogen combined with electrical heating. No other reactor technology can achieve such a wide range of temperatures and applications. If your city is in a secluded area or island, there's no better choice than MMR. It is a fully self-contained microgrid that can power villages as small as 5,000 homes. Are you paying significant costs to a centralized electrical grid with high transmission and distribution costs? Don't outsource reliability. Take control of your heat and power supply and generate it on site. For cities, we offer customized power plants to match current needs and a simple path for expansion and growth.
Basically three complications: regulatory hurdles, lack of investment, and competition. The nuclear industry is extremely regulated, and safety protocols must be designed for everything, even for problems that most likely won't ever happen. As you may know, small modular reactor technology was approved in 2020 and are commercially available since 2022. However, its approval came about after a 12,000-page document was submitted just for safety requirement, with a total project funding of about $600 million. In other words, for any serious thorium research and development, consider the same requirements as SMR technology. However, securing investment is next to impossible because of what I've believed to be the most challenging matter: the anti-nuclear energy lobby. Acquiring investors to fund any research is where the problem starts for anything really. Crowdfunding can maybe start your research, but as we saw with SMR technology, I doubt crowdfunding would reach $600 million, so you're left with two choices: private investors or the government. Private investors are usually smart and require something back. Most of the time, they just want assurance of gains on their investment, which makes it extremely difficult to get their backing. Now you're left with the second choice: the government. But most of us know by now that governments aren't in the business of solving problems. However, they can be helpful in cases like this. They should know that thorium is a major problem solver for the world. Catch is, some people are more concerned with their bottom line than fixing problems because of bad actors. While the job of a scientist is to educate and rely on the good spirit of their elected officials to help them develop better technologies, activists, especially the ones against nuclear technology, are by far the biggest drawback a thorium research company must face. Greenpeace, among other organizations, actively fight against any sort of nuclear technology development. They work closely with politicians, advising them to stay away from it. But that's not all. Overcoming the anti-nuclear energy lobby is just the first step. Next, we need to battle our way up against the uranium industry, which is well established with an incredible infrastructure that dominates the sector. The same infrastructure needs to be developed for thorium, something that most likely the uranium industry will fight tooth and nail against it, because they know that thorium is a major threat to them. Public perception is also a major issue. Though most Americans see nuclear in a positive light, 44% of people still opposed based on nothing more than fear, even though this technology is by far the safest and cheapest source of energy that can ever be. It is safer than wind and hydro, only losing to solar, except that none of them come even close to the energy output capabilities of nuclear. Though the future of thorium seems mostly uncertain, there are countries that invest in this technology. I'll be honest, I'm very skeptical of whatever China is doing. My bet is that India is leading the way, and maybe we could have thorium energy soon. After all, they hold the largest reserve of thorium in the world, which is a huge incentive. In summary, thorium-232 absorbs a neutron from fission and becomes thorium-233, which decays quickly with a half-life of about 22.3 minutes by emitting a beta particle and transforms into protactinium-233. At the last step is where we have the biggest drawback, which is separating protactinium-233 from the newly formed fuel salt. Protactinium-233 decays in about 27 days to uranium-233, also by emission of a beta particle. However, there are numerous issues in this step. First, protactinium cannot be exposed to neutrons, or else it will transform into uranium-234, which is undesirable since it is a fissile material, so it is crucial to have a filtration up to 99%. Second, separation of uranium from protactinium involves injecting fluorine into the mix, transforming uranium tetrafluoride into hexafluoride, a gas. The gas needs to be captured and reduced back into tetrafluoride. Third, it takes about 2 months for 75% of the protactinium-233 to decay into uranium-233. The newly formed fuel is separated and goes into the core, while the remaining 25% stays decaying. On top of all of that, all chemical steps are done in extreme temperatures, otherwise it turns back into a salt and compromises the entire system. If done optimally, this process can be repeated forever, which, while complicated, eliminates the need to shut down the core to refuel. Conventional power plants need to shut down every 18 months for a month to refuel. The chemical processing plant is very complicated to design and maintain, and it is considered the biggest barrier when it comes to thorium energy development. Nevertheless, while it is complicated, rest assured that it can be done. As a matter of fact, the technology already exists. At the end of the day, there are more pros than cons when it comes to thorium energy. Side by side, you can see that investing in thorium energy should be a no-brainer. But what is the Thorium Promise? Thorium promises all nuclear energy benefits and more, cheap and abundant with the same energy output as conventional nuclear power plants, safer and easier to maintain, and above all, no atomic weapons. Of course, we now know that some of these claims are a bit exaggerated. However, whatever thorium energy promise is far better than what we have today. Why we don't invest more into it is a complex issue. Long story short, it all starts with the thorium power plant design. It is basically divided into 3 parts: the reaction core located inside the containment building, power generation building, and chemical processing plant. A thorium power plant isn't that much different from a conventional one, except for the chemical processing plant. There are many proposed technologies to develop a thorium power plant with, but the most famous one is the liquid fuel thorium reactor concept, or LIFTR, which is the technology I will focus on this video. Power generation portion is just like any other, but the core and chemical processing plant are special, completely different from conventional nuclear cores. The reactor core is basically designed to have 2 liquids flowing through it. The first one is the blanket salt comprised of lithium, beryllium, thorium fluoride. This liquid goes around the core for reasons that I will explain in a minute. The second fuel salt comprised of lithium, beryllium, uranium fluoride goes through the core. The fuel salt is responsible for causing the chain reaction inside the core, to which some of the neutrons expelled by uranium is absorbed by the blanket salt, transforming thorium-232 into thorium-233. This new fuel is then transported to the chemical processing plant, located not too far from it, and goes through a series of filters with various purposes. Processing the newly formed fuel is a complex task that uses several filtering techniques with careful handling of a liquid that not only is extremely hot, but also in active nuclear decay. While the chemical processing plant is a marvel of engineering,